All right, let's dive right into this. Welcome to today's explainer. Today, we are taking a really close look at a piece of tech that has been making massive, and I mean massive waves in the developer world over the last 2 to 3 years. We're talking about the Bun JavaScript runtime. Now, if you've been anywhere near web development recently, you've absolutely heard the buzz. But today, we're going to break down exactly what Bun is, why it's so ridiculously fast, and how it can completely transform your daily coding workflow. But before we get into the nuts and bolts, let me ask you a question that I'm betting will resonate with pretty much anyone who has built a backend recently. Are you just totally exhausted from configuring a dozen different web dev tools just to get a simple Hello World app off the ground? It's a very real problem, right? The modern JavaScript ecosystem is incredibly powerful, no doubt about it, but it's also notorious for what we call tool fatigue. You need one tool to run your code, another one to manage your packages, another to bundle your files, and then yet another just to test the whole shebang. Honestly, it can be exhausting. So here is our roadmap for today. 1. The web dev dilemma. 2. Enter Bun, the all-in-one. 3. Built for blazing speed. 4. Building APIs made simple. And 5. The ultimate developer toolkit. Okay, let's start with section 1, the web dev dilemma. Think about the traditional JavaScript workflow using Node.js for a second. It's basically fragmented into these chaotic floating islands of completely separate tools. You've got Node.js acting as your runtime, sure, but then you have to bolt on NPM, Yarn, or PNPM for your package manager, and then you need Webpack or ESBuild as a bundler, oh, and Jest for testing. It's this highly disconnected web of dependencies. But then, look at the streamlined Bun workflow. Instead of a dozen disjointed islands, you have one single unified toolkit. Your runtime, package manager, bundler, and test runner are all baked right into one central application. It's brilliant. Which brings us to section 2, Enter Bun, the all-in-one. Just to make absolutely sure we're all on the same page here, let's quickly define the core concept. What actually is a runtime? Well, simply put, a runtime is an environment where your code runs. You can think of it literally like an operating system for your code. Back in 2009, Node.js completely revolutionized web dev by becoming the first major JavaScript runtime for servers. It let us use JavaScript outside the browser. But, technology evolves. Bun, which dropped just a couple of years ago, represents the next massive evolutionary leap forward for server-side JavaScript. So let's pit the traditional old way directly against the Bun way. Node.js is built on C++ and uses the V8 engine. And crucially, if you want to use TypeScript, which, let's face it, most modern projects do to catch those pesky errors early, you have to install it separately and configure it manually in Node. Bun, on the other hand, it's written in a language called Zig, uses the JavaScript core engine, and perhaps most importantly for your daily sanity, features zero configuration TypeScript support. It's fully built in, it works immediately right out of the box. Less setup means significantly faster development. All right, moving on to section 3, built for blazing speed. Bun isn't just, a little bit faster. It's famously known for being 50% or more faster than Node.js. So the really crucial point here is understanding why. It comes down to the underlying architectural choices. First off, Bun is written in Zig, which is a low-level programming language that allows for manual memory management. That means it doesn't rely on the kind of garbage collection that C++ uses, which can sometimes really bog things down. Second, while Node uses Google's V8 engine, Bun utilizes the JavaScript core, or JSC engine, which is highly optimized for fast startup times. And finally, Bun relies on a completely custom-built event loop rather than Node's traditional libuv. All these ground-up design choices literally culminate in unmatched application performance. Now for section 4, building APIs made simple. Quick refresher before we look at the code. Let's define what we are building. An API, or Application Programming Interface, is essentially just a web server that listens for client requests and responds with data. When you build modern web apps, your client, like a web browser, asks the server for data and the server sends it back, usually formatted as JSON. This is the absolute bread and butter of back-end web development. Now look at how elegant it is to set up a simple HTTP server using the bun.serve API. With just a few lines of code, you can spin up a server on port 8000. Under the routes object, handling a simple GET request for all posts is literally just returning a response.json. That's it. There are no massive boilerplate files, no complex middleware chains required just to get the server to listen and respond. It's so clean. And what's truly interesting is how Bun handles the more complex interactions, like a post request, where a user is actually sending data to the server. Bun provides native utility functions that do incredible heavy lifting for you. It inherently handles automatic headers, like setting the content type to application/JSON. And it automatically serializes the JSON data into a string format for the response. It even defaults the status code to 200 OK. You don't need to go out and import external packages like body parser just to understand the data your client is sending you. It is all baked right in.
Finally, Section 5, the Ultimate Developer Toolkit. A fantastic example of this whole ecosystem approach is Bun's native shell scripting capabilities. Normally, if you wanted to execute shell commands, combine multiple commands, or pipe data around, you'd have to leave your JavaScript environment entirely and write a separate bash script. But Bun seamlessly integrates shell scripting right into your JavaScript or TypeScript code. You can use the built-in $sign library to run echo commands, fetch web page content, and even pipe that content directly to word count utilities, all while utilizing modern async await syntax. It's an absolute game changer for automating tasks or extracting data without ever leaving your main codebase.
And then, there's the package manager. This is visual proof of what is probably Bun's most universally loved feature, the package installation speed. When creating a new React and Vite project, Bun can install something crazy like 176 packages in just 39.69 milliseconds, less than 40 milliseconds. Let that sink in for a second. Contrast that with the traditional, painfully slow NPM install wait times, where you literally have time to go brew a cup of coffee. Because Bun handles everything natively and uses a global module cache, project creation and dependency management happen in the blink of an eye. So, we've seen how Bun solves the web dev dilemma by replacing fragmented tools with a single, powerful toolkit. We've seen its massive performance upgrades thanks to Zig and JavaScript Core, and we've seen how elegantly it handles everything from building APIs to managing packages. Which leaves us with one final thought to wrap up today's explainer. Is your next project ready to bake with Bun? If you are looking to cure your tool fatigue, dramatically speed up your development process, and streamline your workflow, I highly encourage you to try applying this toolkit to your next application. Thank you so much for joining me today, Focus Learners, and happy coding.